The first time I realized night buses in this country are wrong in a way no one talks about, I was staring at an empty seat that should not have been empty at all. Before I tell you the story, do not forget to subscribe to our channel because there are many more terrifying stories coming. Turn the lights down if you can, and if you ever ride a late bus alone, maybe do not sit in the back after this. Tonight, I am going to tell you 4 true bus ride horror stories with chilling twists. I will speak to you exactly the way I told them to my friends. Just imagine we're sitting together and I'm leaning in a little closer every time the bus engine growls in your memory.
Story 1. The Man in the Wrong Seat. This happened to me last winter outside Cleveland. It was almost midnight and the city bus was nearly empty. Just me, an older lady up front, and a guy in a navy hoodie sitting all the way in the back. The windows were so fogged up I could barely see the streets, only orange dots of traffic lights smearing past. From the moment I sat down, something felt off. It was too quiet. No engine rattle, no squeak of brakes, just this low humming in my ears. I took a seat in the middle. You know that instinct you get where you do not want your back to anyone, but you also do not want to sit right next to a stranger, so you pick the middle, where you can keep an eye on both ends. That is what I did. The driver was this heavy guy with a big reflective jacket. I could see his eyes in the mirror, half closed from boredom. The older lady got off after a few stops, so then it was just me, the hooded guy, and the driver. I kept telling myself it was fine. Still, I could not shake the feeling that somebody had moved closer. You know when you feel weight in the air behind you, like someone is about to tap your shoulder? I turned around. The guy in the hoodie was still in the last row, head down, phone in his hand, face hidden by the hood. He was completely still, too still. I turned back. 2 stops later, the bus rolled into this long stretch of road near some industrial buildings. No houses, no stores, just warehouses and dark parking lots. My stop was still 3 away. The humming in my ears got louder. I felt that pressure again, like breath on the back of my neck. I told myself, do not be weird, stop imagining things, and forced myself not to turn around. Instead, I watched the driver through the mirror. I swear to you, I saw him lift his eyes to the mirror, look right at me, then flick his eyes to the back of the bus. Then suddenly, his face went pale. He hit the brake so hard I lurched forward. No one had pulled the cord, no stop was coming. The doors hissed open anyway. He stood up halfway from his seat and shouted, "You in the back! This is it! End of the line!" Silence. The hooded guy did not move. The driver shouted again, "Come on, ma'am, this is it! Move!" Still no movement. The hair on my arm stood up. The driver grabbed a flashlight, left the engine running, and walked down the aisle. Each step echoed in that empty bus. I could hear my own heartbeat. He reached the last row, raised the flashlight. I heard him whisper, "What the hell?" The hood was pushed back. The seat was empty. Nobody. No wet footprints on the floor, no bag, no phone, nothing. I know what I saw when I boarded. There was a man back there. We both saw him. The driver slowly walked back past me, his face gray, and said, "Come sit up front, right here, behind me." I asked him, "Was there someone back there, or am I losing my mind?" He kept his eyes on the road and said, "I picked up a guy in that exact seat 10 years ago on this route. He died of a heart attack before we reached the depot. Sometimes I see him in the mirror on nights like this. I just never had a passenger see him too." We did not talk the rest of the ride, but I refused to look back again. To this day,
I will not sit in the middle when the bus is almost empty. If something wants that last seat, it can have it. Story 2. The Last Message from Route 31. This one came from my friend Lisa in Phoenix. She still refuses to ride the bus after dark. Lisa worked late shifts at a diner on the edge of town. She always took the same bus, Route 31, because it dropped her almost right in front of her apartment complex. The driver knew her, the regulars knew her, same faces almost every night. One Tuesday in October, the usual driver was not there. Instead, there was this younger guy, thin face, nervous eyes, checking the mirrors too often. Lisa climbed aboard, showed her pass, and noticed something weird. There were more people than usual, but no one was talking. Not just quiet, completely silent. No coughs, no shuffling, no phone screens lighting up. They all stared straight ahead, hands folded in their laps, like they were waiting for something. Lisa took a seat near the middle, next to a woman in a gray coat who did not look up. The bus pulled away from the curb with a low growl. At the next stop, no one got on, no one got off. The driver did not even slow down. Lisa frowned. That was weird. 3 people always boarded at that stop. She glanced around, wanted to ask someone if the route had changed, but the silence was so heavy, it felt wrong to break it. She pulled out her phone instead. No signal. In the middle of Phoenix. Fine, maybe a network glitch. The windows were black mirrors now, showing her faint reflection. She tried to see outside, but the glass was so dark she could not make out any streetlights, any buildings, nothing. Just the bus interior and those motionless passengers. The driver kept checking her in the mirror, quick, jerky glances. Finally she mouthed, "What?" and raised her eyebrows. His eyes widened just a little, and he shook his head slowly, once, like he was warning her not to ask. They passed another stop without slowing, then another. Lisa leaned toward the woman in the gray coat and whispered, "Excuse me, do you know what is going on with the route tonight?" The woman did not respond. Lisa tried again, a little louder. Still nothing. She reached out and lightly touched the woman's sleeve. It was ice cold. Not just cool from the air conditioner, dead cold. The woman's head turned toward Lisa with this slow, grainy motion, like a video buffering. Her eyes met Lisa's. They were dark, deep, but the skin around them seemed wrong, too smooth, like a mask. In this flat voice, she said, "You are not supposed to be here. You boarded the wrong bus." Lisa jerked her hand back. Her heart was pounding so hard, her vision blurred for a second. She shot up from her seat and stumbled down the aisle toward the driver. When she reached him, she whispered, "Where are we going? You have skipped 4 stops." He did not look at her. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Without turning his head, he said, "I do not know where this thing is going. Dispatch says I have already ended my shift and parked at the depot, but I am still driving." Lisa laughed, a short, panicked sound. She said, "That is not funny." He swallowed. "Look at them," he whispered. "They are not breathing." She spun around. The passengers sat completely still, hands in their laps, staring ahead. No chest movement, no shifting, no blinking. Her throat went dry. She hissed, "Stop the bus, now!" The driver yelled, "I tried. The brakes do not respond. The wheel barely turns." She grabbed her phone again. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no emergency call icon. Just one thing on the screen, a notification she had never seen before. Route 31 in progress. Arrival pending. Under it, a countdown in red. 3 minutes, 20 seconds. She looked up at the front display that usually showed the route number. It was blank, then flickered. The letters slowly formed new words. Final destination 31. Something snapped inside her. She ran to the rear exit, slammed her palm against the push bar. It did not move. She kicked it, hit it with both hands, screaming at the driver. He yelled back, "I told you, nothing works." The countdown on her phone slipped under 1 minute. The woman in the gray coat stood up. Every other passenger stood with her, all at once, like someone pulled invisible strings. They turned to face Lisa, every head, every dark pair of eyes. In perfect unison, they said, "Sit down, you missed your stop." Lisa doesn't remember what happened in the next few seconds. She says there was a flash of white light, like oncoming headlights, a roar in her ears, and then nothing. She woke up on a bench at her usual bus stop, the real Route 31 bus pulling up in front of her. Same old driver, same old route number glowing on the display. She staggered on board. The driver frowned. "Rough night, Lisa? You look like you saw a ghost." She sat down slowly and whispered, "Did you already drive past here?" He shook his head. "First run by this stop tonight." Lisa checked her phone. No strange notification, no countdown, just one new text message from an unknown number, received 15 minutes earlier. It said, "You arrived safely this time." The sender name? Route 31. She deleted the number, but the message is still backed up in her cloud. I've seen it. Same words, same timestamp, no sender info, just that name. Route 31. Story 3. The Quiet Kid at the Back. This one is from Marcus, who used to commute from a small town in Pennsylvania to a tech job in the city. He usually took an early morning bus, still dark out, everyone half asleep. One December morning, snow piled on the sidewalks. He climbed on with his coffee and backpack and saw a new kid already on board. The kid looked maybe 15, wearing a thin jacket that was way too light for the weather. No backpack, no phone, just sitting in the back corner, staring out the window at nothing. Marcus nodded to him, just being polite. The kid did not react. Marcus took a seat a few rows up. He dozed off as the bus rolled along the highway. He woke to the sound of someone whispering his name, not loud, just close, like right behind his ear. Marcus. He jerked upright, spilling a bit of coffee on his jeans. He looked around. Everyone else was out cold, heads against windows. He turned fully toward the back. The kid was staring at him now, eyes too wide, too alert for the early hour. Marcus rubbed his face. "Did you say something, kid?" The kid tilted his head. "You should not sleep on this bus." Marcus forced a laugh. "Why? Gonna miss my stop?" The kid blinked slowly. "You are not getting off." The driver cleared his throat. Marcus glanced up at the mirror and caught the driver looking at the kid, not at the road. When their eyes met, the driver snapped his attention forward again. The snow outside grew heavier, a thick flurry swirling past the windows. Visibility dropped, everything beyond the glass turning into a white tunnel. Marcus pulled out his phone to check the time. He frowned. They should have reached the city by now. They had been on the bus for an hour and a half, maybe more. Normally it was 40 minutes. He checked the map app. No location, just a gray circle spinning. He leaned toward the aisle and called to the driver, "Hey, are we stuck in traffic or something?" The driver did not answer. Marcus tried again. "Hey, sir." The driver finally said, "It should not be this long. Road is empty. Feels like we are looping." Marcus's stomach tightened. He turned back toward the rear. The kid was now 2 rows closer. He had moved without Marcus noticing. Still no bag, no phone, no snow on his shoes, even though he had supposedly waited at the stop. Marcus forced himself to stay calm. He stood up, walked back, and sat in the seat across from the kid. "What did you mean, I am not getting off?" The kid looked at him with this flat, tired expression. His voice sounded strange, like it came from farther away than his body. "You do not remember, do you?" "Remember what?" The kid turned his gaze to the fogged window. "Last winter, same bus, same weather. You fell asleep by the window seat." Marcus felt ice creep into his chest. He did fall asleep like that all the time. "There was a truck," the kid continued calmly. "Black ice on the road. The driver could not stop in time. We rolled." Marcus swallowed. He looked around. The other passengers sat unnaturally still, like they were posing for a picture. No one was breathing. The kid finally looked at him again. "You never woke up from that ride, Marcus." Marcus laughed, but the sound died in his throat. He checked his phone again. Battery at 1%, time frozen at the same minute as when he boarded. The driver suddenly shouted from the front, "Everyone, hold on!" Marcus grabbed the seat in front of him. The bus lurched. There was a screech of metal, a blinding white flash, and then everything went black. He woke up in a hospital bed. Real hospital. Real machines. Real pain in his ribs. They told him his bus had crashed on an icy stretch of road just outside town. He was the only survivor. The accident had happened 2 days before Christmas. Marcus said, "That is impossible. I remember riding the bus, talking to a kid, snowstorm, but there was no crash. We just got lost." The nurse squeezed his shoulder gently. "Honey, you were unconscious when they pulled you out. You were on a coma for 3 days. There was no kid on that bus, only adults." He tried to argue, but his voice broke. Later, after he was discharged, he visited the roadside memorial where the crash happened. Crosses, flowers, pictures. One photo stopped him cold. A 15-year-old boy, smiling shyly at the camera. Name underneath? Dylan. The date he died? 1 year before Marcus's crash. Cause of death? School bus accident. On the same road, same route. Marcus doesn't ride buses anymore, but sometimes when it snows heavy, he hears a quiet voice near his ear just as he drifts off to sleep. You should not fall asleep on this bus.
Story 4. The Empty School Bus. The last story happened to a guy named Todd in rural Ohio. He works night security now, and maybe this explains why. Todd was driving home late from a construction job on a lonely country road. No street lights, cornfields on both sides, nothing but darkness and the thin glow of his headlights. It was close to 2 in the morning when he saw it. An old yellow school bus pulled over on the shoulder, hazard lights off, no headlights, just this huge dark shape blocking half the lane. He slowed down, heart thudding. There should not be a school bus out here at this hour. As he got closer, he saw the bus door hanging open. He pulled in behind it and flashed his high beams, hoping to catch the driver's attention. Nothing. Todd killed his engine, grabbed his phone, and stepped out into the cold night. The quiet hit him like a wall. No crickets, no wind in the fields, just the ticking metal of his own cooling car. He walked up to the bus door and called out, "Hello? Everyone okay in there?" Silence. He climbed the steps. The smell hit him first. Old vinyl seats, dust, and something else, a faint metallic tang that made the back of his throat prickle. The interior was lit only by his phone flashlight. Row after row of empty seats. No backpacks, no jackets, no graffiti, nothing. Todd walked slowly down the aisle, boots thumping hollowly on the floor. Every time he passed a row, he felt sure something was leaning just out of sight right next to the window, waiting for him to look. He reached the back of the bus, checked the final seat. Empty. He let out a breath he did not know he was holding and turned to head back. That was when he heard it. A soft squeak of rubber against metal. The sound of one seat behind him shifting. He froze. Very slowly, he turned his head. All the seats were in the same place, but his eyes caught something small on the floor under the last row, something that had not been there before. A lunchbox, bright blue with cartoon dinosaurs on it, a name written in black marker on the handle. He crouched down, hand shaking, and read it. Evan. The name meant nothing to him, but as he stared at those 4 letters, he suddenly felt overwhelming dread, like he had walked into the middle of a crime scene. He grabbed the lunchbox and stood up fast, nearly tripping. He wanted out, now. As he hurried toward the front, his phone flashlight caught something on the ceiling near the driver's seat. Scratches. Hundreds of tiny scratches in the paint, like fingernails clawing in panic. He burst out through the open door, sucked in the cold night air, and bolted back to his car. Once inside, he locked the doors, started the engine, and grabbed his phone to call the sheriff. No signal. 0 bars. He swore under his breath and looked up at the rearview mirror. The school bus door was closed. He stared at it. He was sure he had left it open, no question. As he watched, he saw movement behind the fogged front window. Not a shadow exactly, just the suggestion of a shape standing in the aisle. Too tall for a kid, too still for a driver. Every instinct screamed at him to leave. He threw the car in gear, pulled around the bus, and sped off down the road. 2 miles later, his phone buzzed back to life with full signal. He called the county sheriff, told them what he had seen. The dispatcher asked for the route number painted on the bus. Todd realized he had not looked. He turned his car around, heart pounding, and drove back. The road was empty. No school bus, no tire tracks in the shoulder. Nothing. They never found a bus out there. No driver reported trouble. No school was missing a vehicle. Weeks later, Todd was still shaken. One night, he decided to throw away the lunchbox he had taken. He had almost convinced himself he imagined everything, that maybe it was just an abandoned bus hauled away before deputies got there. He opened his hall closet where he had shoved the lunchbox. It was no longer on the floor. It was sitting neatly on the top shelf, handle facing outward, as if someone had carefully placed it there at eye level. His hands trembling, he picked it up. The name on the handle had changed. It no longer said Evan. It said Todd. He moved out of that apartment a month later, and now he refuses to drive on country roads after midnight. He says sometimes he still sees the faint reflection of school bus windows in the corner of his rearview mirror, even when no one is behind him. And when that happens, he refuses to look directly. Because once you make eye contact with something that doesn't belong on the road at that hour, you might not ever get to look away again.